Thank you for joining us. You're watching a career success video from Computer Coach. Computer Coach is a Tampa-based computer training center specializing in helping IT and business professionals add on the skills they need to reach their desired career goals. If you are job searching, in transition, or are looking for guidance, please feel free to reach out to us at www.computercoach.com. Now, let's get started.
Welcome again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you. My name is Danielle Ori. I am the Director of Career Services at Computer Coach, and I'm here today to give you just a brief overview of what Computer Coach is all about, how we can help you and others excel in the world of IT and business. So at Computer Coach, we're dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations through comprehensive training courses. And we have a variety of courses in quite a few key areas of IT, such as coding and cybersecurity, infrastructure, data, and a variety of business topics that include project management, business analysis, digital marketing, and so much more. So if you are interested in learning more about our offerings and want to get some additional training, please reach out to us for a free career strategy session. We'd love to connect with you and help you on your career journey. By choosing Computer Coach, you're not just gaining knowledge, you're joining a community of passionate learners and IT professionals, career changers. Computer Coach is here to support your journey. So today's webinar is brought to you by our Career Services Department, and as a student, you'll gain access to these valuable resources. Without further ado, I'm really excited to welcome Taylor Knight. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle. So hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Knight, and I'm up here in rainy Vancouver, Canada. Very jealous of Danielle and anyone else down south. We could definitely use a bit of sun here. But today I'm going to be talking about my career, which is right now I'm a social media strategist for Vessi. We're a Canadian company, so not sure if everyone in the States may have heard of us, but we are a waterproof shoe company. So we've been around for about 6 years now. And so just out of curiosity, does anyone here know of us or by chance have our shoes? Maybe you could put in the chat if you do. But if not, that's okay. That's good. That means that there's lots of room to grow. So I've been with Vessi for 3 years now, and I've definitely had a bit of a unconventional path to get here. And in the digital world now, it seems like paths like mine are becoming more and more common. Our memes are cool. Thank you so much. So yeah, we're going to go over some unconventional paths and then go into a bit of a guide for how you can also carve out your own path in marketing and go over some tools that are readily available to everyone. And just to preface, I can only really speak to the social media part of marketing, but it really is one of those kind of emerging areas of marketing where there are low barriers to entry. So anyone can kind of get experience and learn, even if you don't have like a formal degree in marketing or social media or business or anything. So I hope that my perspective can be helpful and valuable, and we can share some insights that can be applicable to whatever part of marketing you're interested in. All right, let's get started. Okay, so my career, my path, how I got here. I actually started living in Van City. Oh, hi, that's so great. So my career actually started in customer service. I worked for a professional baseball team up here for a few summers selling tickets, and it was super fun, but I grew up playing baseball and I didn't want my whole life to revolve around that. So I decided I wanted to work in the music industry. And I was always interested in the business side of music, like managing artists and planning tours and all that kind of stuff. So I found that this program is called Creative Industries, and it was all about the business side of those industries. So like music, fashion, film, TV. It was a lot of fun. It was super interesting, and it let me dip my feet into marketing a little bit, but it also made me realize I didn't want to work in the music industry. The lack of work-life balance really turned me off, and I'd been working in sports part-time, and I just realized I would rather be spending my evenings and weekends at a baseball diamond than at underground music venues, losing my hearing like everyone in that industry does. So towards the end of my college days, I got a job working for the Toronto Blue Jays as a mystery shopper. And it was definitely the coolest job ever. It was basically like the show Undercover Boss, but I was an undercover fan. And so I got paid to watch the games, eat hot dogs, interact with staff, and then evaluate them based on the company core values. So from that job, I knew I really liked the intersection of customer service and branding and kind of how the front line can create these memorable experiences that the brand is all about. And then from there, that led to me getting a full-time job with the Blue Jays in their fan services department. So then I was on the other end, I was probably getting mystery shop myself while I was doing various customer-facing roles. And then my contract with the Blue Jays was coming to an end, and I moved back to Vancouver here on the West Coast and decided it was a great time to try and work in marketing, which was always kind of where I saw myself ending up. But the only problem was I didn't have any work experience on my resume in marketing, which, as I'm sure a lot of us know, it's hard to break into it if you don't have that or any like degree in marketing. So I wasn't having much luck. I wasn't hearing back from any jobs. And then I came across this 3-month customer service contract with Vessi, which I had heard of them. I had bought their shoes a few months before. I really liked them. So I thought, well, 3 months, what's the harm? And then I thought from there, I would just get experience in a new industry outside of sports, and then I could move along. But 3 years later, I am still at Vessi, and now I'm in my dream job of being our social media strategist. So when I started at Vessi, I was on the customer service team. And at the time, we rotated roles every day. So sometimes you would be answering emails or phone calls, live chats, or part of the job was answering our social media comments and messages. But our management realized it wasn't the most efficient because answering people on social media can be very scary. So when you're not doing it consistently and you're not able to really get comfortable, it just was taking us all so long to like press send on a message. So it wasn't the most efficient, and they decided to have just one person take on that role. So I was lucky enough to be chosen for that. So that became my full-time role called community management, and it was answering all of our comments and our direct messages. And I personally loved following like funny, clever brands on social media, brands that just showed their personality. And I was lucky that Vessi encouraged me to have personality on there too and kind of have fun with it. At the time, we were a very young company, so it was just like good vibes all around. So I tried to bring that to social. So I started sharing these screenshots of fun interactions we were having with people on social media. And I was sharing these in our company-wide meetings, and people were kind of getting a kick out of it. That top left one about our company name means bladder in French. Our name is one letter off from the French word for bladder. So we get comments like that all the time, and people loved that response. Below there, we have someone who said they wouldn't buy shoes they've never heard of. So I said, great, good thing now you've heard of us. Up top, we have someone daring us to give them a free pair of shoes. So I said, can we pick truth instead? And then that bottom one, we don't use animal products in our shoes or anything. So people get caught up on that we're vegan, and they like to make jokes about eating them. So we have fun with those responses as well. But these kind of interactions were kind of what got my job on people's radar, and they started seeing that answering customers on social media could be more of a marketing and a branding opportunity as opposed to viewing it as just another customer service channel. So after a few months of that, I walked into the office one day and our co-founder Tony came up to me and asked if I knew how to make TikToks, which at the time I had only made a couple on like my personal TikTok account. It was nothing crazy or creative by any means, but I just told him yes. And he said, great, here's some videos we took at our warehouse. Can you make this into a TikTok ad? So I spent like 2 whole days editing this 30-second video. It took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to make it, but eventually I got it done and they ran it as an ad, and it became one of the top performing ads that we were running at the time. So that got me a bit of a boost, and I was like, okay, that was really fun. I wouldn't mind doing more of that. And this was also back in 2021, where there was this movement on social media where brands were really starting to use TikTok, especially in super creative ways. Duolingo, Ryanair, Scrub Daddy, those are kind of like the top 3 at the time. They were getting tons of buzz. They were being super clever on TikTok, and they were using it as if they were like an influencer, creator, or even just someone like you and me, as opposed to how brands were traditionally showing up on there, which was more of like making an ad, selling a product, and just posting it on TikTok. But the problem with that is it's just not what people want to see when they're doom scrolling before bed. But if you aren't familiar with those brands on TikTok, I highly recommend checking them out. They're all doing a really good job. So then, I was seeing brands having more fun on there with their in-house social media content, and I wanted that to be us. And so I started making a couple TikToks and we posted them, and they were performing better than the TikToks that an agency was making for us at the time. And so after posting a few of those in my spare time for a couple months, I was able to build a case for us to get rid of the agency and then bring TikTok in-house. And so that became part of my role. Those are just some screenshots of some of the videos we had success with. We have office dogs, and so that one of the wiener dog, that was a very popular one, just exploiting all the cute dogs. So yeah, and then similarly, with Twitter, we had a social media manager at the time who was running our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but she wasn't as active on Twitter as I was just in my personal life. So I would kind of help out suggesting tweet ideas, and I was able to kind of take that off her plate. So then my role became doing Twitter and TikTok. And then fast forward a couple years, I'm now managing all of our social media platforms and doing the content and strategy for all these platforms. So we're going to dive in a little deeper into the social media marketing world now and give more insight into what I do and what skills have been helpful for me to get to this point. But maybe let's just take a pause, see if there are any questions. I see one in the chat. How long did you produce the ads before you're able to release? So I think I've posted the first one in October, I want to say, and then I believe by March the TikTok or the agency was done. So I was posting maybe once or twice a week for a few months, and I was able to just build enough kind of proof that these weren't just one-off wins. It was actually like just a different strategy. The agency was doing more of like selling a product, and that's what they were hired to do. Well, like we would have products and campaigns and they would make videos about that. Whereas the stuff that we were making in-house was more of like around the office, showing off the office dogs, the fun culture, more so making jokes about like waterproof shoes and just being a little bit more relatable, which obviously an agency isn't gonna poke fun at the company they're working for. But I think when you work in-house, you can have more fun with your customers. So yeah, I would say it was probably about like 5 months of that before that became my full-time role. Perfect. All right. So one of the most common questions I get asked is, what even is social media marketing? There are some misconceptions that people have. I'm not sure if the people in this chat like work in marketing or maybe they don't and they are really curious about this, but I figured I would just go over it. Some people think we just post photos for fun, or that it's like as easy as when we post on our personal social media accounts, or that you have to be an influencer to work in social media, or even that there's no way there's enough work to make this into a full-time 9-to-5 job. And it is a newer avenue in marketing, and social media jobs also look very different now compared to how they did even 5 years ago. So some of those questions are fair enough, but let's just dive into what I do kind of day to day. So when I try and describe my job to people who might not be as familiar with social media marketing, I describe it as like you have the company up here, and then the company has products and campaigns and kind of performance marketing, and then you have branding, brand strategy. And so there are all these tools that help the company communicate with customers or potential customers. And so just as an example, I threw in 2 other tools here. You have email marketing, where you're sending updates about products or campaigns or whatever it might be, and you're sending those directly to the customer. And then you have advertisements, where again, we're speaking to a group of people and we're telling them about the company or about products. They're seeing the ad and then hopefully they're going to the website and buying, but most often they're just gonna see it and move about with their day. And then social media is unique because we're showing content to our followers, but they're also able to engage and interact right back with us. So instead of speaking to them, we're speaking with them. And we get to kind of engage with them, build relationships with the customers, get to know them. We celebrate milestones with them. And we also get to see like photos and videos that they're tagging where they're wearing our products. We get to see how our products are actually being worn out in the wild, or how they're being styled, or just what our customers are into. It's kind of this unprecedented access for brands to get to know their customers and for customers to get to know the brand. Yeah, I mean, before social media, brands were kind of at this like arm's length away from the public, and now that we're in these platforms with them, we're participating in the conversations with them. Also, I see this comment, I'm out of Publix and just saw a Vessi commercial. Pouring ice on boots. Yes, we do have a commercial. Those are the Alta high top boots. They're pretty new. We just released them. They're like the first big winter boot that we've had. They're super cool. I'm glad you saw it. I'll let the team know that the ads are working. Okay, and another question. Do you think it's sustainable to maintain such personalized interaction and engagement with customers? That's a really good question. Back a few years ago when I started with Vessi, we were trying to answer every comment and every message. Now I would say it's not sustainable. We try and answer, of course, like every customer, legitimate like questions that they're sending to us, but some comments we kind of let it slide now if people are just making more statements. Yeah, I think when you're working in social media, it's like you take every interaction very seriously, because I know when I'm answering someone, like that's a big deal for them. They're like, this is their representation of the brand. So to an extent, we do want to answer everyone, but now we're getting like hundreds of messages and hundreds of comments every day. So it is a lot harder. There are tools though, like Hootsuite, Amplify, Sprout. What's the other one? I'm blanking on it right now, but there are all these social media management tools that make it really easy to kind of categorize comments. You can prioritize, you can have like template responses to send if needed. So that's helped a lot. But yeah, it's definitely not sustainable to be super personal all the time, but we do our best. And then, so yeah, I guess to go into my day-to-day a bit more as well, which I kind of just touched on, but when Vessi has a new product, let's say, I'll get briefed on it, and then I come up with a plan for how we're going to post on our social media channels to like get our followers excited about it, and then inform them of kind of how, when, and where to buy it. And then, as I did mention earlier, though, social media marketing isn't just about selling products. People don't want to see brands selling stuff in their face when they're doing their nightly TikTok scroll. So how else can brands show up in social media in productive ways? So we get to gain brand exposure by creating content that's entertaining, inspiring, and educational. We also get to help push our brand mission, which in Vessi's case is to inspire happier communities and help people embrace water and rain. So that's kind of always in the back of my mind of like, how can I post content that's going to help bring water and rain to the front of people's mind? And we also get to use our platforms to foster a sense of community. So in our example, like our customers know the secret that having waterproof shoes makes their day better, helps you get out there, live your life, it makes you not scared of the forecast. And then we get to then connect people with those similar mindsets, which I feel like this is now sounding like a sales pitch, but just want to give an example of how Vessi approaches it. But yeah, sum it up, you have the products and the campaigns, and then and keeping your followers updated on like the Vessi things going on, Vessi updates. That's one part of the job, and it helps structure our calendar, and it lets us know like what we have to post. And then the majority of our job is filling those gaps. In between product launches, we're trying to post content that's gonna like foster the community, push the brand mission, just like use our platform for good and connect with our audience. Okay, so we're now going to go into some keys to success for working in social media marketing, both for creating content and then also for how you can carve out your own career path, as unconventional as mine has been. So these are just some tips I've learned from my experience in my job. And the first one is to stay authentic. When it comes to strategizing and creating content for our audience, it all really revolves around staying authentic. I'm always thinking about who are our customers, what do they actually want to see, and then how can we bring actual value to them, and how can it also stay authentic to our brand. I think customers can see right through brands that are being deceiving or not staying true to the reasons why customers actually love their brand. And this is something that I'm grateful to have experienced dealing with customers firsthand, because I think that's helped me be able to put myself in their shoes and then, kind of think, if I was a customer, which I was one day, what would I want to see from Vessi, or like, is this actually helpful to me? But yeah, you want to create content that's new, exciting, but not alienating your audience as well. Next up is embracing the access to customers that social media gives us. We have this unprecedented access into customers now, so we can get real-time feedback, get product suggestions. One of my favorite pieces of content that we do every year is at the start of the year, we post and we say, okay, what products do you want to see from us in the coming year? And then just getting to see, first of all the creative ideas, and then also seeing the excitement of people when their suggestions actually come to life. We just did that post at the start of January, and there were so many comments about this one product, which I can't say yet, but we are actually making the product. And so I'm very excited for all those people to see that it's actually been in the works. And then we're also always getting messages from customers with feedbacks on the products that they've actually ordered. And so working in social media means that you get to be the messengers who bring that feedback to the appropriate department so that the company can just constantly improve, know what we're doing right, know where there's opportunities to grow. And that's definitely one of my favorite parts of the job, just being like the eyes and ears of the company. And also, yeah, especially with like some of the cute customer stories, or when they send us photos of like their travels and they're like, oh, I brought my shoes on my trip. It's so cute. Do you openly recognize the customer who made a suggestion that will be implemented? So the funny thing is, every time that we've had a majority, like a very popular suggestion, it's always been in the works. We have sometimes, I think it was with maybe our waterproof gloves. I think we also did this with a winter boot. I've seen tweets from people being like, oh, please make this product. And then if I know that we're making it, I'll save the link to the tweet and I'll put in my calendar for the week that it launches. And then we can follow up with the person and be like, surprise, or like, you manifested this. But if we ever had someone who did suggest something that we didn't have in the pipeline, we definitely would. I think that would be super fun too. We did actually just a fun little campaign we did a few years ago. We had like a golden ticket kind of thing. And so there was one stylish shoe, and everyone that bought it during maybe it was a couple months had a chance to have a golden ticket in their shoebox. And there were maybe 5 golden ticket winners. And then they got to design a shoe or pick the colors. And then we had like all of our customers got to vote on which one they actually wanted. And then we made it and we sold it. So that was really fun. Yeah, that was definitely a very fun thing to have, like the customers feel like they're involved in the product creation. And then, yeah, moving to the third point, this is prioritizing value. So you always want to try and think of how you can make content more purposeful or give more value to your customers and your audience. I think it's really easy to think of content ideas that just show off your product, or you hop on a trend that's going around, but it's always best to be realistic about whether that piece of content you're making is actually going to bring value to the audience or just clog up their social media feeds and get tuned out. This was something that, again, years ago, we thought it was best to do like, okay, let's aim to make 3 TikToks a week. But then sometimes you're just trying to hit those metrics and you're trying to just pump out 3 videos and they're not always the best. And then, so they weren't performing as well. And then with the algorithms, it's like, it's not worth it. So we've taken kind of a less is more approach in the past year of like, if a post isn't really going to bring value to our customers, we're just not going to do it. Unless that value doesn't always have to be to the customer. It could be like, if we know a post might not get a lot of engagement, but it's really important to our brand, we'll of course still post that. Okay, moving right along. The next theme we're going to cover is more on how you can carve out or embrace your own unconventional path into marketing. So earlier I mentioned, I think I meant to mention that I have a social media coordinator now. I think I definitely just skipped over that, but we have a social media coordinator that answers all of our comments and DMs now. And she actually had a super similar path into her role as I did. She also started in customer service with Bessie. And then she started helping us manage our comments and our DMs. And now she's helping more with like our content planning and more administrative responsibilities. And I was telling her about this chat today, and we were talking about our unique paths and what got us here. And she had this great point that we both were able to get into our current jobs by leaning into our interests and our strengths. And we both kind of took initiative to help out beyond what our job description was, but it was just seeing gaps and opportunities within the company. So just to elaborate, to give an example, I feel like I was able to get into this social media content and strategy role that I'm in right now by leaning into my interests and strengths, which were creating fun little TikTok videos, making punny tweets, and having like kind of more fun responses to customers. And then Alex, who's our social media coordinator, she's super strong at organizational skills. She's so good at taking our ideas, putting them into spreadsheets, building out production plans, just like organizing all of the content that our customers are sending into us. And so by her taking initiative and stepping up with her strengths, her role is basically exactly what she's best at. So yeah, she was able to help fill the gaps, and now she gets to do what she likes and what she's good at. And then it helps out the greater team. I think in our case, Bessie, it's still kind of a startup, but it definitely was when we started with the company. And so if you're working for a startup or a smaller company and you can offer something that nobody else is doing, it's going to be welcomed with open arms. All right, so this next tip, I would say it's really the most important, I think, for anyone who wants to get into social media or marketing or honestly any kind of job. It's just to use social media as a learning tool. It's such a great way to see what competitors or industry leaders are doing. I follow so many brands on social media, and I love just following along with them and thinking of what their strategy behind certain posts must have been. And so like anytime you're seeing a brand post, you can be thinking like, I wonder why they did it like this, or what do I like about it? What would I have done differently? Yeah, you also can use it to inspire creativity. I have a fake Twitter account, which I recommend everyone do this if you're into like marketing. And I just follow a bunch of brands on there. And so whenever I'm having a creative block, I'll scroll through and I'll just see what brands are posting about or get inspired. Like there's one that always just makes me laugh. I think it's Excel Gum. They're so punny on Twitter. And so just seeing them be so creative, it then inspires me. And I'm like, okay, what can I be clever about with our audience or with our products? And then I would love to open it up to everyone. Maybe if you could put in the chat, like, are there any brands out there that you think are doing a really great job? Doesn't have to be on social media, but just any kind of marketing. Like, let's just give some promo to any company that you think is doing a great job. Bonus points if you say Bessie. I will just say one that's always top of mind right now, Bays. They're the luggage brand. And Shay Mitchell, the actor, is, I don't know if she's like their owner, but she's definitely like the face of the company. They're doing a really great job right now. Their campaigns are also always so clever. They recently had a suitcase that was, I think, just called Maple Brown. And so all of their marketing for this campaign, it was like maple syrup was dripping off the suitcases and people were eating pancakes with the suitcases next to them. It's just like, it's so memorable. Now I know they have Maple Brown. Publix commercials. Okay, I'll have to look those up because we don't have those in Canada, but I wish we did. Yeah, I guess just to sum up that point, because it really is the most important, using social media as a learning tool really is the best way to get experience without having a job in social media. So much of my job is creating content and it's making something. And then during the editing and the filming process, I'm always thinking like, how can we make this better? How can we make it more entertaining or more purposeful or tie it into the brand more? And so if you can be intentional about what you're consuming on social media and then start thinking of those same questions of like, what could this brand have done to make it better? You're just going to exercise like that muscle in your brain and you'll just learn more and become better and improve your critical thinking. Kia is becoming more edgy. Yeah, that's a good one too. I feel like, yeah, car brands always have really good commercials. I'm excited for Super Bowl commercials soon. Okay, and then this last point is just about using, I was also going to talk about how TikTok and YouTube are search engines, because that is also kind of a new thing. I feel like we're so conditioned to go to Google when we want like a recipe or we have any questions. And now I keep seeing more and more articles about how TikTok has become a search engine and people are using that like to find recipes or just quick videos. We all have small attention spans now. But yeah, definitely don't be afraid to just go into TikTok and ask the most random questions that you're curious about. I'm sure you'll find a video on it. Okay, so the last tip is getting familiar with certain photo or video editing apps. There's so many that are really easily accessible now, and they're easy to learn too. So Canva and CapCut are kind of the main two that I recommend. Even if you're not a graphic designer or your graphic design team maybe doesn't have capacity to help you as much, you can learn Canva pretty easily. The free version is definitely, it's limiting, but even as like an investment, I think it's $150 for a year, and it's such a great tool. You learn so much, even if you're just making like little creations for your friends or like memes, or I do invites for like people's birthday parties, and it's such good practice to just get used to like the design elements and I don't know, just how things look, I guess. And then CapCut is a relatively newer app. It's a video editing software, and so I think TikTok kind of has integrated CapCut into it, but I still prefer CapCut. I make all of our TikToks on there pretty much. And again, that's a great way. Before this TikTok era, I feel like video editing was a lot harder. You had to use like iMovie or something more extreme. And now with CapCut, you can make things so easily on your phone. I really can't emphasize enough how easy to learn it is, especially if you're not working in marketing right now, but you want to. I think getting familiar with CapCut is huge because video is the future. Like everyone just wants videos. Okay, great. Sorry, I feel like I breezed through that, but just to recap, we want to embrace your unique experiences and bring that to your next role. We want to leverage your strengths and interests. I think marketing is a lot more fun when you genuinely are interested in what you're doing. And then we want to pay attention to what your audience is saying or doing on social media. So take advantage of feedback and use that to constantly improve. And then when creating content, we want to always stay true to your brand and your audience. We want to take initiative. If there are any tasks that you enjoy doing that aren't being done in your organization, it's such a great way to stand out and to hopefully carve out a job that best suits you. And then using social media as a learning tool and for sparking creativity. And then finally, taking advantage of these easily accessible online resources out there and building your strengths and your skills. And that is all for today. So yeah, any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
To learn more about our training programs, classes, and what sets us apart, please visit our website at www.computercoach.com.